Founder of the Democratic Party, Clem Labega, is our Black History feature for this evening. President of the NAPB gives updates of his meeting with the Minister of Justice. And MP for the UD says it is evident that government has no intention to discuss coho with Parliament or the population at large. Those are the headlines for Tuesday, February the 23rd, 2021. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie from Clifton. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a full newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, Member of Parliament of the United Democrats, the Honorable Sarah Wescott Williams, said on Monday, February the 22nd, that they received a response from the Minister for a meeting to discuss the Caribbean Body for Reform and Development, COHO, and the so-called country package. According to the Member of Parliament, from the response, it is evident that the government has no intention to discuss this very important program with the Parliament or the population at large. She remarked that it appears the intention is not to have this discussion at a stage where the input of Parliament and the public can serve to strengthen and unify St. Martin's position, adding that the reasons given by the Prime Minister for not appearing in Parliament are neither here nor there. Speaking to the Voice of St. Martin's News Department, MP Wescott Williams expounded further on the topic.
As Parliament, we received the response from the Prime Minister to a request from Parliament for a meeting to discuss the Caribbean Body for Reform and Development, COHO, and the so-called country package. From this response, it is evident that the government has no intention to discuss this very important program with the Parliament or the population at large. At least, it appears that the intention is not to have this discussion at a stage where the input of Parliament and the public can serve to strengthen and unify St. Martin's position. The reasons given by the Prime Minister for not appearing in Parliament at this time are neither here or there. The meeting date of February the 22nd was set based on the Prime Minister's schedule to begin with. Still, the Prime Minister asked that a meeting be postponed again and now indefinitely, given the following reasons. The draft Coho Kingdom Law has not been advised upon by the Council of State, and thus a discussion on this is considered, at least by the government, premature. And secondly, the government argues they are still busy aligning the country package components with the governing program and year plans for translation into a proper implementation plan. That is taken from the letter the Prime Minister sent to Parliament. With respect to the first issue, while that might be so, the forerunner of the COHO, namely the Temporary Work Organization, is already up and running. The Netherlands is also proceeding with agreements on the basis of the country package, such as the Border Control Agreement, which was recently signed between the four countries, including the St. Martin Minister of Justice. For this, one can see point age 11 of the St. Martin country package. It is naive of the government to believe while they are engaging in this so-called aligning of the country package, that time stops awaiting this exercise. The government has to admit that right now it is the country package which dictates the pace and priorities for the coming years. Not because St. Martin has until April the 1st to, together with the Netherlands, establish the implementation agenda for the country package means that the world has stood still, waiting for St. Martin to align its plans. Moreover, it needs to be recognized that these country plans, especially those of Curaçao and St. Martin, are nearly carbon copies. Work that has already started for Curaçao will not be duplicated to suit St. Martin unless in very compelling cases. To mention some of the areas where, again, we might be running behind to have St. Martin's position taken along, are, for example, dollarization for the monetary union of Curaçao and St. Martin, a new tax system with a form of a value-added tax. And would not any government want to discuss its priorities with the Parliament? But then again, the Prime Minister has in the past, rightfully, observed that the government is supported by a majority in Parliament. However, that is no excuse to brush aside a call from Parliament to defend the government's position at whatever stage in the process. I want to highlight just some areas where it is clear that, aligned or not, we have to get cracking. Health reform and institutional cooperation between hospitals in the Caribbean part of the kingdom. Reform in the healthcare package. Education reform. Reform of the gaming sector. The crime fund. These are all matters that, whether they can be aligned with a governing program or not, the train has left the station and the government should stop these stalling tactics.
And turning now to other news, Independent Member of Parliament, the Honourable Christophe Emmanuel, is extremely concerned about complaints he said he has received about the tendering process to award new waste disposal contracts. The Independent Member of Parliament said if some of the very worrying information he has received is true, legal challenges and consequences could follow, casting doubt and suspicion over the entire tendering process. Member of Parliament spoke to the Voice of St. Martin's news department.
It needs to be looked at, and the minister has some questions that he needs to answer. And based on the article, I would be expecting a number of individuals to be sending in letters and requesting more information from the minister in terms of how the tender went from the ministry, whether it was done openly, whether it was done fair, or whether things were not done how it was done. I am saying, Stephen, that in this day and age, people have a right to know, and I'm just questioning what are those sort of things based on the article.
You said that the minister will have to answer some questions. Any question in particular that you have for the minister as Member of Parliament?
Well, because we have a number of meetings scheduled on the book, and we have the airport meeting coming up tomorrow as well, I know my faction as independent member will be putting a letter together and getting the support of others to call the minister to Parliament and answer a number of questions, Stephen. So to pinpoint on one individual question wouldn't do much justice at all. But again, like I argue people of St. Martin's, is to read the article and see in it how it went from itself. And I'm just basically asking those type of questions, and a response from the minister could be had, whether it's in the press briefing on Wednesday or whether it's a letter. I mean, what I'm saying is, for example, when you look at the situation, you hear things such as a lot of the older individuals, like the Leonards, was kicked out of the tender because in their tender, they didn't have in their business license garbage disposal or garbage picked up. And I'm saying to myself, but these people have been picking up garbage for 10 years. For years, these individuals has been collecting garbage. Is it only now that the government of St. Martin realized that in their business license, it doesn't have solid waste disposal or garbage picked up? And then if that is the case, how is it that for 10 years, the government has been operating this way with such companies? So that's just one example. For example, and it's shocking when you hear these older individuals who we have known in the garbage business for years, all of a sudden is no longer in the garbage business. Now, it could be, right, that the ministry is following the proper procedure and the right way to do things, but one, again, don't know, hence the reason for the question.
And in other news, on Monday, February the 22nd, in the presence of the school board officials, Secretary General Kurt Rowan of the Department of Rommey's New Works, and the Honorable Minister with the responsibility of ECYS, Dr. Anders Rodolph Samuel, in collaboration with the NRPB under the leadership of Claret Connor, signed the agreement paving the way for repairs to start at the various schools on the island damaged by Hurricane Irma back in 2017. The contract between NRPB and the Windward Roads was also inked Monday afternoon as well. Repairs to the first three schools, which include the Leonard Connor School, the Sister Regina School, and the St. Joseph School, are expected to take approximately 100 days. In this edition of SXM Daily News, you are going to hear from the Honorable Minister of ECYS, Dr. Anders Rodolph Samuel, but first, the Director of the National Recovery Program Bureau, NRPB, Mr. Claret Connor.
We are here to sign two documents, actually. One is the School Repair Program Agreement. The repairs agreement is a document outlining all of the obligations and the responsibilities of the works that is to be executed by Windward Roads. The Minister, as the head of the local school board, will be signing in that capacity, and I will be signing on behalf of the NRPB, and Mr. Montesor will be signing on behalf of Windward Roads. So we will sign this document first, and then we will, obviously it comes in three originals, so you'll see some switching around so that all documents would be able to be signed off.
I would like to say thank you this afternoon for this part of the journey, and I know it isn't easy, and while I'm signing this one, I'm definitely thinking about the other schools that also needs to be.
This contract will be signed by all three parties again. The Minister will be signing as a witness. This is the works contract between the institution and the main contractor, Windward Roads.
And still to come, Chairman of Parliament poses questions about sole proprietorship to the Chamber of Commerce. And I'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
Hi, I'm Switch.
And I'm Save.
And together we're here
to tell you about WIB, Switch, and Save Mortgage Offer.
Now at WIB, you can save and benefit from great specials when you decide
to bring your mortgage to WIB.
When you switch, WIB will offer you
payment of penalty fees up to 3 months interest,
payment of notary fees,
waive of bank closing fees,
and also the lowest interest rate.
Plus, you'll have the chance to win back 1 year of interest payment.
Visit any of WIB's mortgage specialists and benefit from WIB's Switch and
Hey, that's my part. And Save Mortgage Offer.
WIB, your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. And as we continue to honor our local heroes for Black History Month, this evening we will pay tribute to the founder of the Democratic Party, Mr. Clem Labega. The text was partially taken from Kenneth Cook's book, The Politicians Who Made a Difference. Clem Labega, the man who founded the Democratic Party on St. Martin, was born on January the 26th, 1926, on St. Martin. He attended the Open Barras Hole, now known as the Oranjes Hole, until he graduated from the 8th grade, which was the last grade at that time. He later attended school on Curaçao and became a qualified radio operator. After school, Mr. Labega worked in the Economic and Social Affairs Department. When he returned to St. Martin, Mr. Labega got heavily involved in politics because the then Prime Minister of the Netherlands Antilles, Dr. Ephraim Jonkheer, asked him to run for office alone. He campaigned in the Windward Islands for the parliamentary elections of 1954. Mr. Labega said that he had asked Milton Peters and Claude Watty for permission to hold public meetings, but that both men refused. So he asked the then governor of St. Martin, and his request was again denied. Consequently, Mr. Labega went house to house and lobbied for votes. He won on St. Eustatius and St. Martin, but lost on the island of Saba. He was elected to the Island Council in 1959 and served 12 years as an island councillor. Mr. Labega, who also ran the airport bar, worked tirelessly. He went to New York and convinced cruise ship operators to send ships to St. Martin. As a result, the Stella Polaris became the first cruise ship to visit St. Martin. It was followed by the Stella Maris. Mr. Clem Labega also played a leading role in the extension of Phillipsburg with the filling up of sections of the Great Salt Pond to create the Walter J. Nisbet Road and the Cannegator, as well as the E. Camille Richardson Streets. The $4 million gilded deal was done with a simple handshake, according to Mr. Labega. His greatest challenge, however, was securing development aid from the Dutch government. When he left office back in 1971, he remained active in politics. For the last 3 decades, he gave advice to numerous politicians, such as Sam Hazel, Bernard Hawley, and many others. Clem Labega died on May the 27th, 2009, at the St. Martin Medical Center. And as we continue now in other news, President of the NAPB, Mr. Rogerel Mauricia, speaking at the Anti-Poverty Platform weekly press briefing on Thursday last, February the 18th, addressed the Minister of Justice's decision to put back the Immigration Mobile Unit under the Immigration Department. The NAPB president said that there was some concern and a meeting was held on February the 15th to discuss the issue. And he gave an elucidation on the outcome of that meeting.
That the Minister, Anna Richardson, had a meeting with the members to inform her about her decision to put back the mobile unit under the Immigration Department. But after that meeting, the members then had some concern. And those concerned, they requested a meeting with their unions last week, and on the 15th of February, this meeting was convened to them, whereby they presented the board members from different unions their concern. The first concern is that a letter that they received, dated the 9th of February, but received on the 10th of February, whereby they were being given a time frame in order to decide whether they will go to the immigration or fall under the immigration and make that known by a letter, or make it known that they want to stay on the KPSM. And that letter, they had a time frame that they have to answer by the 25th of February, which will be next week. The members then presented the unions board them with a list, almost 34 questions, and requested us to book this letter to the Minister of Justice Cabinet in order to convene a meeting with her so those questions can be asked, so they can have a clarity about their future. We passed through those questions, and all of them is questions that literally need to be answered so they can make a clean decision about their future. And also concerned about the time frame, which is the 25th. It put them that it is a rush in order to make a decision, and they don't want to take a decision that tomorrow it may hamper their future and the future of their family. So therefore, on the 16th of February, we booked this letter to the government building. We also, same time, sent an email with the scanned document that was booked, and let the minister know that letter was booked, and why the email, to remind her, because, like I said, the time frame, the due date, the 25th of February, is making a big impact on their decision making.
And now in other news, the Committee of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunications of Parliament, the CTAATT, met with the President of the St. Martin Chamber of Commerce and Industry, COSI, Jennifer Carty, on Tuesday, February the 16th, 2021, to discuss the current and future plans of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The Chamber's president also spoke about the continuation of export-ready projects and economic diversification. She said that the pandemic has sped up online businesses by 10 years, and we need to be able to equip our businesses and young entrepreneurs to be able to do business online as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Member of Parliament, the Honourable Solange Duncan, who requested the meeting, said that she has seen an explosion in entrepreneurship on St. Martin, and it makes her extremely proud but also anxious to do her part in the development of such, especially the SME sector. Meanwhile, Chairman of Parliament, the Honourable Rolando Bryson, who also sat in the meeting, spoke about the issue of sole proprietorships and asked if the Chamber is in contact with the tax department to kind of work out this issue of someone having multiple crib numbers, which should not be the case.
Is the Chamber in contact with the tax department to kind of work out this issue of somebody having multiple crib numbers, which should not be the case? Every citizen has a crib number. If you have a sole proprietorship, that sole proprietorship is your crib number and not a new company. This is also significant because of the tax implications. It is in some cases more favorable to register your business as a sole proprietorship under your own individual crib number, because, for example, if you are getting a salary at a business and then you couple your side business, so to speak, you also do plumbing or whatever as a sole proprietor, when you combine that income, you're in a more favorable tax position than if you are forced to create a separate tax entity for that. I don't know if that's kind of clear, but basically this issue with the tax department and sole proprietorships, I think, needs to be clear in how it's being handled.
And also addressing the issue of sole proprietorship, Member of Parliament for the National Alliance, the Honourable George Pontiflet, said that once you have the Dutch nationality, you should be given an opportunity, and he expounded further.
But the fact of the matter is, I think sole proprietorship should be, once you have the Dutch nationality, you should be given an opportunity. And I would set a time frame. If you want to put restrictions or whatever, then say that you should have the passport for 10 years or the nationality for 10 years. But saying that because you were not born here, you must go to the notary and establish an envy or whatever, I find, in my opinion, that is discriminatory. And that, I believe, is against the progress and development of St. Martin. Because otherwise, I'll have to look at other establishments on St. Martin, restaurants and laundries and so on, that are not owned by us. So then should I put a stop to those and say, well, maybe tomorrow when they are required to file for an extension or renew or whatever, I'm going to say, look, it is time for the locals to take over. What we should do is make the environment more conducive. Because if you said local, and somebody, I think I saw here where it mentioned SMEs, 85% for small businesses, it will be interesting. What do you consider a small business? How many persons? 3, 4, 5? Because there are many groups, ethnic groups, who own businesses here, and they're not quote-unquote locals.
Now, turning to our weather forecast for February the 23rd, 2021, the strengthening Atlantic high-pressure ridge will account for breezy conditions and deteriorating seas for the next several days. Patches of low-level moisture transported by brisk winds may trigger a few brief passing showers across the local area. Meanwhile, low concentrations of Saharan dust are producing light haze across the region. Increasing winds and northerly swells will cause rough sea conditions. Waves up to 8 feet can be expected during this forecast period. Further deterioration is forecast during the week. Consequently, a small craft advisory is now in place for St. Martin until further notice. Small craft operators and sea bathers should exercise caution. So the outlook through Thursday midday, partly cloudy and breezy with brief passing showers possible. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, we'll be back with the CPS's coronavirus update. I'll have the details to that story when SXM Daily News returns.
The innovative Banco Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast. Fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, as of February the 22nd, there were 9 persons who tested positive for COVID-19. However, 11 persons have recovered, bringing the total active cases to 49. The total number of confirmed cases is now 2,042. The Collective Prevention Services, CPS, are monitoring 48 people in home isolation. 1 patient remains hospitalized at the St. Martin Medical Center. The total number of deaths due to COVID-19 remains at 27. The number of people recovered since the first case surfaced on St. Martin has increased to 1,966. 116 people are in quarantine based on contact tracing investigations carried out by CPS. The Ministry of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, VSA, the Airport Health Team, in collaboration with the Healthcare Laboratory St. Martin, HCLS, have tested 2,481 travelers arriving at the Princess Juliana International Airport, while CPS has tested 19,228 people throughout the community. As the numbers continue to fluctuate, CPS will continue to actively execute its contact tracing measures. And as we continue to monitor the spread of the virus on St. Martin, Minister of Health, Pontiflet, reminds everyone to wear a mask, practice 2-meter social distancing, sanitize and wash your hands frequently, and be cautious of large gatherings. And with that, viewers, it brings us to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for tuning in this evening. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you so much for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.